Hello, it's us, it's you, we're here, together. Why are we here? For another exciting week on You Can't Disappoint a Podcast, Argentina's number 5 television show podcast.
And I don't think we've kept that. I think we've been drastically falling since, but we're going to wear that badge proudly for the rest of our lives. Welcome to the show. You can officially support You Can't Disappoint a Podcast now on Patreon at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. It's the place to go to help us move this show forward, and there's all kinds of exclusive content, fun interaction, events with Steven and myself, and all types of ways to influence our show on a weekly basis. So please consider supporting us on Patreon.
If you want to get in on the action, make sure you email us your trivia, your MVP, and your funniest moments from that week's episode over to our email at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com, and we will read it right here on the show.
We sure will, even if you beg us not to. Also, hang out with us on the socials every week off the podcast. You know, we're on Facebook and YouTube under our podcast title. You can also find us on Instagram at Can't Disappoint Podcast and Twitter, where we probably do the most of our jovial lollygaggery at You Can't Disappoint. So come hang out with us over there.
Yeah, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button.
Give us that attention that we so desperately crave.
Yeah, throw us your hearts, your wallets, and a couple kisses here and there, and we'll keep on pushing out this baby of ours that we call You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
Hello, everyone out there, and welcome to another edition of our You Can't Disappoint a Podcast Patreon preview series. Yes, what's up, everyone? I'm Zach, and a little update on the Steven situation. I have news to report that after he was lost hiking, that the search party has stopped looking, and it's out of lack of interest. But we're not going to reflect on that too much today because we've got some stuff to sell. This series, of course, is all to push our Patreon, which is full of exclusive content, podcasts, live stream events, physical stuff to get from us, hanging out with me and Steven, all kinds of good stuff all the time over at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. And in Steven's absence today, we're going to focus on better times when we were amongst family. And yes, that is by giving you a preview of one of our Patreon exclusive editions of You Can't Disappre Show, our weekly live stream pre-podcast, where me and Steven just get loose and hang out and catch up, play games, chat with guests every week before we hop into the Dreamatorium to record You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. And right now, you're going to hear a sneak preview, a little glimpse of one of those You Can't Disappre shows we've done exclusively on Patreon with the one, the only, you know her, you love her, Mary Baker Budisa, Steven's lovely mother and friend of the show. If you'd like to see more things like this on a weekly basis, consider supporting us at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. On with the show.
Hi, Mom.
Hello to my little darlings.
Nice.
How are you?
Doing great. Those glasses are cool, and your lipstick looks nice.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Coordinated
Okay.
with the ring, too, and the blue. I like it.
Boop, 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 boop. You know, I'm trying to get camera ready, y'all. That's
Wow.
what I'm doing.
More than
This
we've
is-
ever
My
done.
hair is in a low ponytail, and I'm wearing a anime shirt. So
I am
You know what,
quite
Steven?
literally wearing pajama pants right now.
I love it. Better a low ponytail than a side ponytail, though.
well, we'll see.
Does he do that? Does it
You
kind
know
of just
what?
end up where it ends up?
I just feel like a
Sometimes.
side ponytail is one of those things that when you're doing it, you really are doing the least. It's not doing the most. It's doing the least. That's what a side ponytail is.
I'd like to see your hair
me.
down more often because I don't think I've seen that much of it.
You know
No.
what? I did my hair yesterday. That was the one day that
No,
I actually
I was talking about
did the
Steven,
hair.
but that too. It's like, yeah,
You know,
I'd
Zach,
like to-
I'm not inside your head. I
That's
can't
funny.
read your mind.
That's funny. I rarely am either, so it's fine.
So I have a couple of questions because you always tell me technical things when I'm on here and I don't know technical things because I'm
Yeah.
using my earbuds and I need to know, am I okay with my audio? Am I
You
too
sound pretty good this
Yeah.
time. I don't hear our echo or anything. You sound good. However you did it is the right way to do it.
Yes.
Am I supposed to be recording something because I don't know how to do that?
No,
not
you're
for
doing
this.
perfect. For
You're
this, we just
live
hang
on
out.
the air.
Yeah, we're just
I
chilling
did
for the half hour
it!
before we record the podcast.
Okay.
So we're going to record about the episode of Community we're doing this week after this, but I think you watched it, so I'm curious to hear what your thoughts on. We're not going to say anything. We're gonna make you wait for that. But what did you think? You're shaking your head.
I've got to say, first of all,
yeah,
one of my favorite things is always Troy and the things he wonders about. Because I got to tell you that Troy is Steven in preschool. Like asking the same questions, wondering about the things, saying things he probably shouldn't tell about family business. But
totally.
Definitely. He once told his preschool that he slept in the dog's cage with the dog. And
I'm sure it was
so
by
I got
choice.
a call.
I'm sure it was by choice. I'm sure he just wanted to be close to the dog, right?
First of all, we were just dog sitting. Let me just say that. It was my sister's dog.
That's
it was a poodle. And it was a high maintenance.
Steven comes to your teacher the next day and is like, I sleep in a cage.
Right?
Right? Like, maybe we should call about that. Was this a public school? Were you at public school throughout
this was Park Place Children's Center right here in good old Anderson.
Wow.
Church daycare. So
I'm sure they were very concerned, rightfully concerned, when a child says something like that.
Yeah. It was rough. So I get this call. Fortunately, I had a friend that worked there who called me a lot and said, I need to talk to you about Steven. I'm like, oh no. It again?
It was a regular occurrence, unfortunately.
It was. There was the time that Steven made a sign for me that said, because they said, say something to your mom that's nice for Valentine's Day and tell her you love her and something. He said, I wish you would wear your seatbelt when we were in the car. I'm like, thanks for that.
Oh my God. That's so
on a heart.
That is so passive aggressive.
Really is. Okay. Then there was the time that they called me
funny.
And said that
I'm sure it wasn't
Steven
then, but that's really funny.
Yeah, it was. Listen, I was like, man, why, kid? Why? They called me and said that he'd put like a piece of maize, not corn, maize in his nostril.
Okay.
And I said, why? And they said, well, that is also the question that we asked Steven. He said, because I could. And so I come there. And of course, by state law, they're not allowed to like stick tweezers up the kid's nose or whatever.
Oh my God. They're like, will you please take this corn out of your child?
That's right. So I have to come
down
there
and remove this corn from this kid, please.
Thank you.
We probably shouldn't put anything inside of him. Could you do this, please? Yeah.
He's lying on a cot.
And this is what, like 9th grade?
Oh my gosh, right? Well, he was the oldest kid to have his back patted to go for a nap. Like he just kept on asking for it years after like he was in the little kids class. Okay. He was like,
to this
I'm
day,
in kindergarten,
just
give me that. Just give me the back pat so I'll go to sleep. People are like, you know what, our arms are getting tired.
Are you still asking for that? Do you ask your roommate?
Kind of uncomfortable, yeah.
Probably. It's kind of
we're not that close. And I'm like,
hey, living situation.
We're not that close, but I just needed to sleep.
Is it in the lease?
He made sure it was added, yeah.
It's real sad. See, but that brings me to some things I would like to talk about today after our episode. I just want you to know that I feel like since I have not yet been acknowledged as the mommy of this podcast, then what I want to do is talk about things that I am responsible for in Steven's like repertoire, right?
Okay.
In his life. Well, no, I've just got a few very important highlights that I want to say. Okay. And I can document that these things are true. I feel like he is maybe just not acknowledging them. So it's not a pick on Steven Day. It's just like, let's celebrate where his mother has influenced
Celebrate my lack of originality. Is that
That's it. I'm just taking back credit. Okay. All right. That's what I'm going to do.
I'm the Milli Vanilli of podcast hosts.
There you go.
Ooh. Wow.
That might be too soon for a lot of people. You gotta check with Germany.
I don't know nothing about Milli Vanilli. I know the name. I don't think I know any of his music. Sorry, guys.
Milli Vanilli was a duo that had, and I'm only going. I also stole this information from my mom because I was not really around for the.
Okay,
Milli Vanilli
wait, stop. Then let me tell it, please, because your recaps are infamous for not being thorough enough. So let me just take this Milli Vanilli situation here. Okay, so Milli Vanilli, Rob, and Fab. These two guys who wanted to make it big, just some good
Sure,
old,
right.
kids from Germany, growing up on the
Okay.
streets, talented dancers, wanted to be singers and performers, had these adorable dreads. They looked a lot alike, beautiful light eyes, and you know how girls like the boys with the light green eyes. Anyway,
We both do. Zach and I, having light green eyes, know that
Yes.
we have to, chase them away with
It's true.
sticks.
Steven and
true.
I are both notorious for knowing what girls like.
Well, and braids, right? These braids, they were so good looking that it was like that weird, like Shamar Moore kind of thing where you're like, that's not real. Or like with Ryan Gosling and his abs, and you're like, those aren't real. That's
He
that
saved
kind of thing.
jazz.
I think they're probably real. They might
did
be
say jazz.
accentuated, but they're probably real.
I don't think so, Zach. I don't think so.
I feel like you just need that to be true.
No, as someone who's felt some good abs, I'm going to tell you, I don't think those are real. I
Okay.
don't think they're real. So
Okay.
just agree to disagree, right?
So how
So
are they?
poor
Are you
Robin
saying they're
Fab.
CGIing people's abs? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, because they've been CGI behinds and other parts for years. Also,
That's true.
smooth skin.
Okay.
And if you could CGI intelligence, it would have saved a lot of careers. But you can't do that. Okay. So anyway, Rob and Fab, nice guys, but they wanted to perform. Somebody said to them, "You look great. Let's make an album, but you really don't sing very well."
Aw.
So they paid this guy to do the singing on the wonderful hits like "Baby, Don't Forget My Number" and "Girl, You Know It's True." Those kinds of songs. They win a Grammy, big time. Cutie
Oh
pie,
shoot!
come on
And
stage, get a
everyone thought
Grammy.
it was them singing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then it's exposed.
I don't
That
think
it
I've
is,
ever
in
heard
fact,
this before.
not them.
Mm.
Now, unlike when people found out that Jennifer Beal wasn't the one actually dancing at the end of Flashdance, that it was this other girl who had blonde hair, they didn't roast her, they didn't cancel her, but this was cancel culture at its worst, right?
Well, like acting in a movie is one thing. I feel like
Right?
there are other times, like when there have been musicians that have been caught lip syncing on something like SNL, and
Ashley
people,
Simpson.
or I think Britney
That
Spears
was a disaster.
I think Britney Spears was one. I think there are quite a few, and I think it makes people look at people differently. I don't know. It makes them look very manufactured. Though. Yeah.
It does. And it was sad because it was like, if you had told them, like, you guys were going to come out with this story, we need you to like get out in front of it or whatever, or just decline the Grammy or say,
why wouldn't they have just been like, let's let this
guy
like join the band?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah.
There were 100 ways for the record company to do this, but ultimately I blame the record company because I'm like, nobody, makes these decisions on their own and then just makes an album and puts their name on it. Yeah. Except for Justin Timberlake. But anyway, so then
I'm not a fan of Justin Timberlake.
Sorry, I have all kinds of just venom for him. So
I do too. I used to always tweet, like, for a while I was tweeting every day, like, good night, I hope everyone has a good night, except for Jimmy Fallon and Justin Timberlake.
I forgot how much you hate Jimmy Fallon.
I detest Jimmy Fallon. The fact that he's now like 100 years old and he's been doing this for like however long he's been doing it, and he still has this really fake, like, oh my God, wow, I can't believe I'm here. Oh my God, wow, you're so cool.
And he still hasn't gotten any better.
Everything's it's so fake.
Well, I remember you pointed out to me that, like, and I never noticed this until you told me, but that he just laughs like at himself because the other person isn't laughing, and he's like,
there's some not so great late night talk shows nowadays, but he's like the worst at interviewing people. Yeah. He doesn't give a shit about anyone that he talks to. Yeah.
He was his generation's Joe Piscopo. Like, I hated Joe Piscopo on Saturday Night Live. Oh my gosh, you got to go back and watch him. He was the worst.
I was just thinking and he
was bitter.
Podcast idea that I have every week was that it would be awesome to do a Saturday Night Live podcast and go from season 1 to episode 1 and like talk about all the eras of Saturday Night Live. But
that'd be a lot of rough time to go.
Like, it would be really rough time.
But I think it would be fun, and it'll also be like, I don't know, a window into pop culture and history from years that I don't really know that much about, other than the big things. I think it could be fun.
Yeah. It'd be tough to get guests. So back to poor Rob and Fab.
Hey, let's bring on the Belushi. Which one of them?
The Imposters. Yeah, which one of them is?
Any of these people still alive?
Phil Hartman.
Chevy, come on the show.
R.I.P. Yeah, it's rough. So they have to give back their Grammy because it all comes out. But not just that, but people really canceled them, like roasted them. They even tried to do an album with their own voices, which, it wasn't that the album was so terrible. Like, their voices weren't terrible because you can auto-tune anybody, right? Okay. But it was rough. And so actually years later, one of them ended up committing suicide. And I'm not sure,
Oh no.
but I think the last one that's living, he's tried to get work since then, but it basically canceled them for
Wow.
life. I mean, they went wherever the guy from Seinfeld went and never to be seen or heard from
Are you
again.
talking about
Right?
Michael Richards?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah. I was
Right?
trying to think. I was like, who? Like Newman?
Who? Newman? Wow.
Oh,
Wow. I've even seen him in stuff. I mean, he did
Mm.
some children's shows,
I
right?
think he's shown up in some things and been like Jerry, and then he leaves. I think he's done that on 100 sitcoms.
Yeah. He doesn't really do a good job playing a dad. He just plays creepy people. Like like he's a weird custodian or something.
Are you still talking about Michael Richards, or are you talking
Well,
about
hey,
Newman?
it's Newman.
Because Michael
'Cause we've
Richards is
never
the same
seen-
way.
I don't
There
know
was like
where
a
he is.
really short-lived comedy detective show that was like the Michael Richards show. And it's like, I like Seinfeld. I kind of like Kramer, the character, but he's not a super talented actor or a super like lead character guy. He can kind of play the weirdo and be pretty good at it. Or like you mentioned Janitor. Have you ever seen the Weird Al movie UHF? Weird Al Yankovic.
It's been a long
It's
time.
a really good movie, and Michael Richards did it before Seinfeld, and he plays this kooky janitor. That's a super good movie. Fran Drescher's in it.
I like Fran.
I like Fran Drescher, the nanny. But I must say,
Anyway,
I'm disappointed that you've seen UHF, but you haven't seen Carlito's Way.
I went through a strong Weird Al Yankovic phase in my
All right.
preteens.
Now you need to go through a strong, really good films, like character development, gangster
I need
films.
to. Yeah.
And, you've
I
seen
really enjoy
Goodfellas, though,
Well,
right?
I watched Goodfellas for the podcast when we did the Chicken Fingers episode. I think there will be more movies like that in the future where I'm like, I really need to watch.
I think you'll like
something for this one.
Casino too. I like Casino. I don't know if I like Casino more than Goodfellas, but I like.
We've got a
Casino
shout out from Mary in the chat, from Danny.
Hi,
Big
Danny.
hugs.
Big hugs to you too,
Nice.
sweetheart.
Synergy.
What a beautiful woman. She's just so sweet and wonderful.
We
I
got to
really
hang
like
out with her a couple weeks ago. It
Yeah.
was really fun.
What did you talk about?
We talked
Good
about
things?
Community
we talked about
and Scrubs.
We did it for this. We talked about Community and we talked
Okay.
about Scrubs and yeah, good times.
Scrubs. Oh yeah.
We
That was a
actually,
good
so we
show.
just recorded our episode that she wanted us to watch. Of
Yeah, we're
Scrubs.
doing a Patreon podcast about my screw up. It's the Brendan Fraser's character passes away
Yeah.
episode, and it's really sad, and it was fun to record. Yeah,
It is sad, and it's really good because it has like that character development piece that I love in a show where you know a character is a good character because you like them and they're funny, and even though they're maybe awful, but then you also get
see,
this
there's
other
more to
layer.
them. Are you talking
Like,
about Dr.
yeah.
Cox?
Yes,
Dr.
like
Cox,
he's
yeah.
so, because you have to know that anytime somebody is in that much pain or is that much of a jerk, it comes from somewhere, right?
Oh, sure.
So eventually you have to give every hero or every anti-hero their origin story, and that's what
Totally.
you have to do
Mhm.
if you're going to write a really good TV show. You save those up for the episodes that are like sweeps week. Anyway,
Now have you
So-
decided what you want us to watch?
Oh yes.
Okay.
It could be a
so-
movie. You could make us watch
Mhm.
Carlito's Way or one of those films that you think we both need to watch that we haven't seen.
Well, I would like for you to watch
Honey 2.
Carlito's Way, but oh wow.
What did you say, Steven?
Honey 2.
Wow.
I don't know what that is.
It's a sequel to Honey,
I might know
starring
what
Jessica
that is.
Alba and
Who doesn't?
Does the
Why don't you
second
just
one-
say you got served?
mm,
That's bad. I'm sorry.
I don't
These
know.
are terrible.
What are
Zach,
Okay,
you,
so
would, you would absolutely hate You Got Served.
there are
That sounds
two
fun.
things.
I'm
I've got
down.
it down to two things. Okay.
Okay.
Two things.
Okay.
One of them is the first episode of Wonder Woman, the original series. 'Cause
Okay, that'd be super fun.
there's some gold there. I'm
That'd be
talking
super
The
fun.
world
And
is waiting
since
for
Clois
you.
Leachman just passed away,
Sure.
plays the
And she's
queen,
been great in
so-
so many things. That'd be
Mhm.
fun. When is
Yeah.
that? Was that 80s or 70s?
80s. It was great.
Yeah, that sounds
I
fun.
just love that show. Watched it all the time.
That sounds
And
fun.
The other thing that I'm thinking about brings me to my list today of things
Yeah.
that I would like to air on the podcast because I can't get Steven on the phone ever. So these are the things that I
did
would like
quite
to
literally miss a phone call
Steven.
from her this morning.
Yeah.
Sorry
Call
about
your
that.
mother. Call your
Right?
mother.
Right?
This shouldn't be how we all communicate.
Shouldn't be
with
how
each
it is.
other.
So here's my short list
We
of
gotta
things.
get those clicks.
I only
Because I
talk
like
via
to air
podcast
the
now.
I like to air the grievances. I like to get it all out there. Okay. So the first thing that I would like to say in Steven's life, which he has recently acknowledged, is that his love of ballroom dancing began when I used to make him as a 4-year-old kid ballroom dance with me in our living room.
Aw.
Because I tried to teach that kid the Rueda, Steven, and I did not know the dances, but it was because of a little film called Dance with Me.
Not familiar with it.
You also cannot do a Rueda with only 2 people, so I think
No, you can't. Well, you know what, Steven? I have my dreams, and you see my sign that says "Never Stop Dreaming," which in every one of my meetings, it will say "Stop Dreaming." How do you like that?
Yeah.
And people will go,
That feels
I
more
really
fitting
feel
for this. It's like
it really
stop.
does.
Give
Just
up.
stop. Just let them go. Just let the dreams go.
Can't lose if you don't try, right?
That's right.
Right.
You can't. You can't. Don't take that shot, right?
You're a
No
loser,
misses.
but you can't lose if you don't try, right?
That's
Exactly.
right. No misses, babe. 0 misses, 0 shots taken. That's right. So I watched that movie when Steven was still just a little guy. He was really little, and he cried the entire movie. So my friend knew how much I loved ballroom dancing. She says, "I have a treat for you. We're going to go see this movie." So we go see the movie. I love it, but I have to watch it through, in the theater, like at the old Mounds Theater in Anderson, where you would be standing out in that kind of foyer, and you'd be looking through the glass at the movie.
Like
I'm standing out there with no sound, trying to get Steven to stop crying so I don't disturb the other people.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm not that person who brings a baby to a movie and lets the baby cry the whole time.
Well, and I wish I could say that I thought that was the only movie you had to do that with me in, but I'm certain it wasn't.
Was it just scary?
Steven was the kind that would wait till the last 5 minutes and say, "I gotta go to the bathroom."
I specifically did that in a Harry Potter movie one time.
Yes,
it was Prisoner of Azkaban. At the very end of it, I was like, I can't hold it anymore.
Yeah,
I don't. Because you've probably been holding it since an hour before the movie. I'm the same way.
I didn't go beforehand when I was asked.
It's true. He didn't when he was told. Go to the bathroom before we leave. But
I loved everything about the movie going experience from the time I was really, really little. So I would stay there for every second. And this was before things were after the credits, but I wouldn't let my family leave until the entire credits were over. So I wanted to see every second of the movie. Yeah.
Right. You got to go there.
Marvel ruined it because
and I missed it a lot.
Now you have to stay till the end of the credits for everything.
But I always
even if it's
good.
Something. It depends.
That's when I get my best dance break, though. When you stand up at the end of the movie and they're playing the end song because it's usually pretty peppy. Right. Yeah, so then you get your dance break because you've been sitting for an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Or 3 hours, depending on
or 3
what
hours.
You're
if you go see Casino, it's 3 hours. So you got to get in there and do your dance break. People are leaving the theater, so you don't have to sit next to whoever that person was that was in the seat beside you who was chewing very loudly or kept looking at their phone. Yeah, that was the thing. So,
Steven,
anyway,
we went to see movies together in Chicago about a year ago, or a little over a year ago, and the whole time he was like, "I have to go to the bathroom. I can't hold it."
Pulling on Zach's sleeve.
I was holding him, crying, trying.
We're in the middle of a Quentin
Tarantino
film, and I'm like shaking Zach's seat, like, we have to go.
Yeah. You need to go see a movie in Boston because that's where I saw movies in college, and I swear it was a whole different atmosphere. Like no one was quiet. You didn't even sit with the people you came with because when there was when it was packed, you'd have a seat here, a seat there, so you'd be sitting away from your friend next to strangers. And everybody's like, "Yo, man, I'm gonna say nope, that was it, nope." Look at that, man. Don't go in there. It's loud.
That's awesome.
No one does that little side eye thing that proper people do in the theater where they go, Well, no one does that. You don't confront anybody in the theater. And there are also people in the back getting high. And you can smell it in the whole theater. And you can bring, your alcohol in your jacket, like you would smuggle in M&M or whatever.
They didn't have the technology that there is today, Zach. So it wasn't discreet back then. They just having open flames in a movie theater.
Thank you. And the bootlegging was next level because you get a person who would be like, "This is
a
my
tripod."
Right. He's really doing the most. I'm gonna need you all to be quiet. This area right here, all of the people talking were atmosphere for his bootleg DVDs. So he really had a method that he was trying. I mean, I wish I could have purchased some of those bootleg DVDs.
Some of my favorite movie memories are when I was a teenager, Mom, and we would every once in a while go see like when a new Fast and Furious something came out,
right?
Or when we went and saw the Avengers together, because I like to talk sometimes during movies.
It's
and
like a
you like to
sporting
talk
event.
during movies. Yeah.
Yes,
And so
we
we
do.
cheer during the movie,
cheer.
and we absolutely clap at the end of movies every time.
Yes, we
It was
do.
good.
Yes, we do, especially if it's a good one.
It
It's
depends
good.
on the type of movie. There's certainly movies I go to see. If I'm going to see like a really serious drama, I would like for people to be quiet. But I'm also not the type of person that's going to confront anyone if people aren't. People can do whatever they want. I don't know.
Don't be scared. Don't
I
be
mean, I
scared.
took a couple phone calls during Schindler's List, but I mean,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're terrible.
I didn't know that I didn't know that the sex line called back, but it was
when you have enough complaints, they do.
we
you see this look on my face? This is sheer disappointment. I just need a moment of disappointment for you, Steve.
That was a good joke.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So,
I do my best.
We're at the last couple minutes of this.
Yes.
So tell us what you thought about this episode of Community, because we didn't even get to that.
Okay. All right. So I didn't get to my list. I'll do it another time. But here's the thing.
That's okay. Anytime.
This episode, I want to say that the first thing that was funny was Troy, but then also Chang on top of
oh yeah,
that's pretty great.
And Troy, what are you doing up there? It feels like Troy is starting to come into noticing things and reacting appropriately with the rest of the group. I even think that Abed at this point sometimes reacts like everybody else reacts to things. Not all the time, but it's funny how they're kind of coming together as a group.
Yeah.
But also Shirley. When people look at Shirley, they do not understand her strength. And the fact that she took this guy back, right? I mean, that's some hard stuff, but that's like some, you got to go back to some soul singers from like the late 80s, early 90s, you know, like 70s, 60s. You got to go back and listen to them sing about their men, because that's some pain.
You know that there's no chance that she won't be thinking about that every day for the rest of her life.
Right.
But she decides that she loves the person enough to live with that, to try again. And it's sad, but there's a lot of beauty in that too, because it does seem like they have a lot of love for each other from what we see.
That she embraces that suffering, and that's part of the trope of like the strong Black woman, is that she's either, you know, setting fire to the man's car, or like that song, I bust the windows out your car. Or she's like, I love him. I love him. I can't leave him. He's my man. You know, so she's doing a whole stand by your man thing, but also she's doing that because in this society, and they don't talk about it, but a rare thing is to have a dad who is willing to stick around. And he's made a mistake, but ultimately he wants to be a dad. And then he steps up. Okay, the little joke about him getting the sweater from his dad. Did you catch that? Bill Cosby, man.
There's a split second in the episode too where Troy kind of does a little Cosby face to him. That's pretty funny. Yeah. They snuck in a couple really tiny ones.
They did. Very tiny, because they can't be big ones. They have to be very tiny ones.
They did a good job.
Not a subject to mess with, but so that's my whole thing. Is
this is 10 years ago. I was listening to the audio commentary and they were still talking about like, great, Bill Cosby. They were talking about stuff like that.
Yeah, you can't do that now.
It's good. You shouldn't, you know, but it's crazy. I've said it's so crazy that someone who was probably less than 10 years away of dying as this commemorated family father figure,
groundbreaking,
that someone could like build statues of, and no one would bat an eye. He was this historic figure, and he was a monster the whole time. And it's great that we've gotten to this point, but it's insane that crazy.
And you know what, we have to I think it's really important that we listen to the voices of women who are telling these stories, that we listen to the voices of men who are telling these stories about abuse and about exploitation, because that's one of the things that I'm really passionate about, that I know that we as a society have kind of decided to compartmentalize that as something we don't deal with, right? Because people are choosing to be, you know, abused, and people are choosing to be, and it's terrible. So I'm glad that there's accountability now, but I did notice those two things, and I was like, oh, okay.
It's good for the episode that they're very slight, because you could watch it and totally miss it. Of course, Malcolm Jamar Warner, is that his name?
Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Jamal.
Yes.
Sorry,
Who used to be quite the teen heartthrob, by the way. That
Yeah, I
and
think he looks great in this.
he does
I think
look
he
great
looks
in
much
this,
better
and
now.
did he look bad for a stretch?
No, I think he just looks. He looks like
Looks
a
like a man.
like a man, and he
Yeah,
had
he
one of
does.
those faces when he was young that looked older when he was
Yeah.
Theo.
But I
But
was just
like,
kind of thinking, like, he doesn't look that much like he did on the Cosby Show. Like, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
And the
Mhm.
references to Cosby are so tiny.
They're
But I
really
think you
little.
could watch this episode and not be looking for something like that and not notice it at all.
Mhm.
yeah, but he was. I mean, he did a really good job. I think even that moment between Jeff and Malcolm Jamal Warner was like kind of cool because it's Jeff coming to a realization. But why does it always have to be something ridiculous with Jeff? Like,
We'll talk about this episode a lot. This one was not
I'm
one of
looking forward to
it was
hearing
not one of
this.
my favorites, but there were a lot of really good things in it. But it kind of felt like it was like, ooh, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. And I hope you'll focus on like the Shirley piece because really it was
The
a
strongest part of the
good
episode.
storyline.
Strongest part of the episode. I feel like I really hate the Chang and Shirley stuff a little bit. Some of the stuff they do with it isn't terrible, but it really feels like they had these two characters that they don't know what to do with, so they put them in a storyline together that could last the whole season. And it doesn't make sense. Shirley would never hook up with Chang out of the tension at a maybe someone, but probably not Chang ever. I don't know.
But did you see Troy's joy at seeing him come
yeah.
back in the room? Because he
was
doesn't
really
like for
sweet.
mom and dad to be fighting, right?
Right.
So that
Okay,
felt
well,
really
we got to go record about this, but this was a really fun conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on, Mom.
You're welcome to come hang out whenever you want. Whenever
I
you've got
love
stuff
you
you want to
guys.
yell at us about.
I
Yeah.
love
Oh
you,
yeah,
Mom.
I'll think of some things.
This was
I
super
love you
fun.
guys.
Thanks to
You be
everyone for
good.
watching and listening.
Tell Lil I said
See you next
hi.
time. I sure will.
Okay.